I'm really struggling to sit here with my eyes closed because she's trying to trick me. I would have been confused as bad as she drives if she just went straight.
I was just thinking, holy freaking moly.
If you're not bought into it, it don't work.
We chose this life together. So our goal is to live this life together, which means we're communicating about where it is we're wanting our life to go.
All right, guys, I'm pretty excited about our show today because we're talking about something that we really enjoy watching work. And we're going to talk about...
Sorry.
I'm not done. We're going to talk about manifesting and what's the other thing?
Just a lot of stories they have transpired for us. But actually, before we start, I actually didn't even tell you this because I was really trying to decide if I wanted to do this or not.
No, we don't want to do it.
I've actually just decided that I want to do it because I think that I personally need this. So, whenever we did our first podcast, which was last weekend, we did it on a Sunday, and then that Monday, I was in the airport going to see my sister in Ohio, and David sent us the podcast to listen to before we were going to release it and all the things. So I started listening to this podcast, and immediately was it good? You did great.
Oh God.
Okay, but listen, immediately I was feeling so I was super excited to go see her, and just all my joy left. Super devastated, honestly, really insecure, and I was just thinking, I cannot do this because I don't know if I was nervous that day and just didn't realize I was nervous or what it was, but I said the word about 5 gazillion times. And then I just remember I was sitting in the airport with my hands in my face, and I was just thinking, holy freaking moly. Do you even know what words are? Can you eat? What are you doing right now? Just so distraught, really. And then probably about, thanks. 2 days later, because I went to help her with her baby because he has colic and was just screaming, so she just wanted to help however I could. And I was rocking him, and I was just honestly consumed with how just upset I was. But I remember thinking that this is a new area for us, this is a new area for me, and a new experience that we're doing. And the reason really that I wanted to tell that is because if you're watching this now or maybe even later, you're going to watch me in real time go through a growing process. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about business and growth and areas that we struggle in. And truthfully, this is an area for me. And so whether it maybe can encourage one person that if there's something that you're wanting to do and you're just nervous about it and how hard it's going to be, maybe watching my struggle can help you in some way, because I just want to be very transparent with not everyone always has it all together. And there's so many podcasts where I think people can be so fluent in what they do, or it's just so good and easy. My microphone's messed up.
No, I think it's
funny that I'm saying it.
No, I think it's funny that David's crawling across the floor.
He looks like a dog. Don't hit the table, David. But that was the point. I just wanted to bring it out of also the word has become a very bad habit of mine that I'm trying to kick. So I'm going to struggle with that.
Well, you only say it when you're nervous.
Or just as a filler word. If I don't know what I'm going to say, I think I say the word just... Renee, you can let me know, I'm sure. Call me out.
Well, if nothing else, this is good
This is good.
To practice for later on. I mean, you got to practice to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah, right. So, I think watching myself and going through the emotions, because you hear people tell you all the time, don't think you can't do it. Well, you're going to think you can't do it. You just got to keep going and doing it anyway. So, because I thought, I can't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, because it's going to get better. Well, and I'm going to get better. And
I didn't think it was bad.
Well,
but we're always check yourself worse
anyway. You self-critique a lot. And I'm obviously, too, naturally a fast talker, so I've got to watch how quickly I talk to make sure you can understand me and all kinds of things. So that was a side note.
And a fast walker. You walk faster than anybody with long legs I've ever met.
It was short legs. I have short legs.
No, you outwalk people with long legs.
I don't know why I'm such a fast walker.
I don't know.
I just power walk all the time. I'm just trying to get things done. I have an agenda and I want to get to it as quickly as I can. All right.
Law of attraction. That's it.
Byproduct. Law of attraction. Yeah.
Law of attraction stuff. I like that.
But you didn't really get into it until really.
It's probably 3 years ago.
I've always seen it from a spiritual standpoint. I mean, everyone, obviously, like you got into it more from like law of attraction. I've always seen it from, like I said, a spiritual standpoint. But
Well, there's a lot of, but you can't say just by spiritual standpoint because just because something spiritual, like you believe something spiritual, don't mean that there's not a reason why it can't work.
no, I know. I'm not saying that's the case.
And you used to hear people all the time be like, if you just believe, if you do this, everything's going to work out and it'll happen. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that's not what I meant.
I know, but what I'm saying is once you, like in the past 10 years, there's been so much science proving things that people have believed for years they couldn't prove. It's just amazes me. And that's what, like, if you're not bought into it, it don't work. And that's what helped me buy into it. Is like, okay, because I see the science of behind why that would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. It's. I mean.
I was. What I was saying was that's how I started out, was seeing it all from a spiritual standpoint. As far as like, just kind of saying the things that I wanted. Like I knew where I was at in life, but I knew like the desires that I had. So I would like say them a lot as far as where I'm at now, but this is where I want to be, and just kind of making that known to myself daily.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny how our mind, we can trick our mind so easy. Yeah. Just like I seen, it might have been Renee. Somebody was talking about when you watch a sad movie, mm-hmm. you're watching the movie, like just say,
Lord, I cry all the time. Like if
well,
like
let's
something
just say
sad.
like the Titanic movie. Like,
yeah.
All right, we know Leonardo DiCaprio didn't die. I mean, he's still alive, but people still get sad when they watch it. Your mind thinks you're watching it. All the women are sitting there thinking how sad it is, but and all the men are thinking, bro, there's room on that door for you. Yeah. Get on the door,
come on up there. But also, too, like, I think the reason that I get sad or emotional stuff is because I can, like, see it actually happening. Like, I envision that being, like, because I know people have gone through it, and so that's how I relate to it, is I just think, well, this has actually probably happened at some point. Maybe not Titanic, but, like a scenario. But I know what you're saying.
Titanic happened.
Okay, well, either way.
It sank.
And they were on the door.
At the bottom of the ocean. I don't know, but it's
I'm talking about the door scene specifically.
Either way. But the point is, when you watch a movie and you feel the emotions, your mind doesn't know that it's not really happening.
Yeah, I know.
Like the emotional part of your mind. So when you think things and say it out loud, you're convincing your mind and your brain that that's real. Mm-hmm. So that's like saying positive affirmations out loud mm-hmm. is a lot better than just thinking them.
Right.
Because
what you say
when
matters.
You're performing that action, your brain really thinks that's a real thing, mm-hmm. even if the other part of your brain knows it's not. You still get benefits from your mind.
Yeah,
doing that.
Because even for me, like one thing I've always told the kids, I grew up having to be positive. Like my dad was not for negativity, and so it mattered what you said about yourself and to people. And so affirmations for me came at an earlier age, and we were always taught to. I mean, for me again from the Bible, like life and death is in the power of the tongue. So what you say has power. What you say has power over yourself. What you say about people has power over them, how it affects them. And so you're just whatever you're saying is giving life to whatever it is you're wanting. So like you said, like if what you say about yourself is going to have more of an impact.
Yeah. So like that, people always like to say the 5 people you hang out with deal. You know, mm-hmm. you heard that all the time. Mm-hmm. If you do drugs, if they all do drugs, you'll end up doing them too. And then if they all go to the gym, you'll end up going to, whatever you do. And part of that, the science of that was persuasion, like it's just what you're around. But there's another part of that scientists discovered. So like law of attraction part, everything's on a frequency. You got high frequency things, low frequency things, and low frequency, the lower you get to frequency, it's closer to death, it's more negative stuff. So if you hung out with 4 people that are negative, like let's just say
drug addicts. Hanging out with you.
Yes, I'm positive. If you just say you're hanging out with 4 drug addicts all the time and they all know they are and they think bad about themselves, like they know that they're not as good, even if you were just on a scale higher than them, higher frequency than them, the only thing they know about you really is that you're with them. So they like cast that negativity towards you, and your mind is receiving all these negative things from them, and it will drag you down just because that's how they think of you. So it's not just because they're doing it and you're close to it. It's their mindset is dragging you down too.
Yeah.
Same thing for positive. If you're hanging out with a bunch of people that are successful, you may feel really insecure and not successful, but if they think you are, they're projecting that success onto you that helps you mentally rise up.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing about that people don't really understand about being around the right people and the wrong people. And so you have like negative, when you got a frequency that, so you have a frequency, and to block that frequency out, you have to have an opposing frequency. Mm-hmm. So the higher you get, regular people that are just kind of sad can't really bring you down. It's going to take somebody that's really low to bring you down. But the problem with that is you can be really high, and somebody that's extremely negative can just crash your mentality if you're not, if you let it be around you. And you'll just notice as you start to raise your frequency and do better and be more positive, that you can't even bear to listen to people complain about normal things.
Lord, I know this all too well. And I think sometimes too, knowing your identity and who you are, being very confident in what you believe in. So for me, like I said, wasn't allowed to be negative. So naturally, I feel like I'm a pretty like upbeat, positive person, and like want everyone to have a good time when we're around each other. And my sister does this even better than I do. She's like party central. But when you're surrounded by people who are negative, I feel like I'm pretty confident in myself as far as I just want to be happy. Or not just happy, but you know what I mean? Like have a good time and not let people bring me down. Now, when there's people that I care about, whether it's you or the kids, when that negativity sets in, that does affect me because I'm directly, we're connected.
You can't run away from me. I'm always around.
Yeah. And that's just the truth. Like, let's just be honest. Like when we first, go ahead.
I can't listen to normal people. A lot of people start complaining about stuff like, if it's us and we're obviously tied together in a different way because we're married. But just normal people, if I'm just somewhere and people just want to complain, I can't even listen to that no more. I can't listen to people talk about sports and complain. I can't listen to people talk about so-and-so said this. Like, it's unimaginable to me that people have Facebook drama, like they'll be back and forth. I couldn't imagine myself writing that. Yeah. I couldn't imagine myself responding to somebody that wrote that about me. Like, it's just.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny too because they'll put it out there on social media and they'll be like, "Get out of my business." And I'm like, "Dude, you put it out there yourself." But this is.
I just can't. Like mentally, I can't go there no more. It's so tough. Once you kind of get past that, you're just like, God, it's just the worst thing to be around that.
And this is an example of projecting. So I have projected my positivity onto Tim, so now he can't even be around the negativity anymore. Because this is just the truth. When we first got together, he was the most negative person I'd ever been around in my life.
Not the most. I was close.
You're pretty bad, but I mean that you're just in a bad mindset. But you've come out of that, and you've obviously grown a ton and gotten better. And I've grown and changed. We've grown together. So you being around me has pushed some of that positivity into your life.
So let's quit talking about how perfect you are, and
That's
let's
not what
talk
I mean.
about.
God, you would say that.
I want to talk about. We just have so many cool stories.
Yeah, we do.
About things we've manifested.
Well, even before
like how particular we manifested it. Like, we got exactly what we wanted. And I said the first one, we were dating our whole 5 months of dating.
Yeah.
And I had a big jacked up F-250 on 40s that was not really what you'd call a work truck. Mm-hmm. And we knew that we needed a truck. We was getting a skid steer and to haul stuff around. We knew we needed a different truck. And I wanted a Dodge truck and a white one with a flatbed, bigger tires, the bigger transmission. Like, I knew everything that I wanted. And I was just in a place where I was so worried that something would go wrong. I was like, I don't want to buy this truck from an individual. I was nervous to spend the money because what if the truck's tore up? Because I didn't want to buy new and I want to buy something used.
Well, and at the time, there wasn't a lot of money. I mean,
No,
we
there
had to be
wasn't.
very careful with how we spent money.
Well, that's
Even
what
though
I'm
we
saying.
weren't married
I was so
yet, we were
nervous
still.
to spend the money and something
Yeah.
be wrong with it that I couldn't afford to fix.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to go to a car lot. I don't really know if it's a good truck. I don't want to buy it from an individual that I just don't know randomly on Facebook, because what if something's tore up and I can't fix it?
Yeah.
And why are they selling it? Made me nervous. And so I just decided, I was like, well, we decided we wanted the truck. We knew what we wanted, but we just, like, I was so nervous, I decided, like, I'm not going to, like, the situations that I didn't want was those situations of how to purchase it. I wanted something where I felt more reassured.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy from Georgia calls and he said, hey, I want to come buy one of your brush monsters. It's like, cool, here it is, come on. He's like, will it fit on my flatbed? I don't want to pull a trailer and I need to drive this truck. And I was like, yeah, come on, it's fine. So he shows up and we're looking at the truck and he's like, yeah, I guess I'm going to sell this truck.
Well, I had a job and I just happened to be there on my lunch break.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I just happened to be there for lunch.
Because you wasn't there much, and then you just happened to be there.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, we're just randomly talking. I didn't tell him I was looking for something.
Yeah.
He said, I just bought a brand new F550 factory work bed, like with all the boxes on it. And I paid cash for it at $78,000 or something like that. And I was like, oh, this dude, he's got money.
Doing well,
he was talking about all the trucks he had and all this stuff. He's like, but this truck right here, I just don't drive it. I got to sell it. My wife said, you need to sell this truck because it just sits here. We pay insurance on it and it never gets drove. He said, occasionally I'll haul something with it just to drive it. And I was like, this is what I need, because now I feel like someone has money. If it was broke, they would have fixed it.
Yep.
I'm not trying to buy it. He's telling me why he's selling it. So he has no really reason to lie.
To try to convince you.
He could have lied,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and had 37s on it, flatbed, airbags, crew cab white, the big
works.
transmission, like everything that we wanted, exactly what we wanted, showed up at our front door of our shop.
Yeah.
In the situation I felt comfortable buying it in.
Yeah.
Like all that just lined up. And he was like, we're getting it. And I'm like, I don't know. You're like, we are getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got the money
We drove that night.
and drove that night to Atlanta to go get it.
Yeah.
And
it was the weirdest story too. We got pulled over randomly. Do you remember that, by that cop?
yes.
Yeah.
And he was being very strange.
It was very odd. Like, pulled us in a secluded park. I was driving in a secluded parking lot and was questioning us why we were.
Yeah,
it was the weirdest experience.
with 30 grand in a bag. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. He was like, why are you coming to Atlanta? We got 30 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And that 30 grand was hard to part with because, again, there was like really no backup money, and the business still had to make payroll, all kinds of things. So go ahead.
It was rough. But yeah, we got there. Everything went smooth. The dude was, he owned the truck right out. He had the title. Everything was easy. But it's just.
That was the first experience we had together.
But the point is, I decided what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I pretty much put it out there. Like, we spoke it out loud. We said, this is what we want. And then we just quit looking. Mm-hmm. And it just fell right in our laps. Mm-hmm. Like, immediately.
Yeah. Well, literally to the door.
Yeah. And the same thing, like when I bought your Jeep.
Yeah.
I was sitting there at the doctor's office from having knee surgery.
So we had been talking and looking.
We had looked, and we're like, we're just looking for random stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want what's the fancy one? Not the Rubicon. No, the fancy Wrangler. Anyway, Sahara. I was like, I want a Sahara. I don't want it to be lifted yet. I want it to be heated seats, because you're always complaining about being cold.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be lifted where it wouldn't be beat up. We wanted to do it, and I didn't want to pay.
Well, because even if it was lifted, it would have been changed anyway, more than likely.
I just didn't want to pay a ton of money.
Yeah, right.
They was asking like $24 for it or something. Mm-hmm. And, so I was sitting at the doctor's office, and I'm like, we've been kind of struggling like what we wanted, and I just decided, in my mind, I was like, this is what I want. And I was sitting there, and I said, all right, I'm about to find one. I opened my phone up, went to Marketplace, typed it in, one Jeep in the date range I put in popped up, just one. It was a white Sahara, not lifted, $24,000. And I said, well, we didn't want to spend more than 20. And I told myself, I said, I'm messaging this guy, and I will get this for less than 20. like that's just what I said. I said, this is my Jeep. I'm gonna message this guy, and I'll go get it today, and I'll pay less than 20. And he responded, hey, yeah, we still got it, whatever. And I said, hey, will you take 19 for it? And he come up, he's like, yeah, come on, come get it. Just like after weeks of stressing out about it, we just decided, I was like, this is what I want. And there it was immediately. And we do that all the time.
Yeah.
I think, but really one of the better stories probably is like our press brake story.
Yeah, that's a really...
You remember the old junky press brake that was going to kill somebody?
Holy moly. There was two. The first one that was here
The first one wasn't that bad, though.
No, but the one that was it's a very involved story and the whole like settle events or trail of events. But yeah, there was a press brake that we had before the one we have now that I literally thought someone is going to die or have
the first one was,
a limb lopped off.
The first one was okay.
Yeah, it was just not that it wasn't accurate or something. Like it wasn't easy to work with. I don't fully remember.
Oh, it was still at my house. We were using the one here.
That's what I mean. There was one here,
Yeah.
then we moved the one from the house here.
So there's a press brake from like the 40s, like 1940 something press brake. And if you don't know what a press brake is, it bends metal. It comes down, takes a flat piece of metal, puts a bend in it. And it was so sketchy.
Which one are you talking about right now? The one you moved from the house?
No,
here?
the sketchy one.
That was
We're just talking about the scary one. So the scary one that was real bad.
Yeah.
It was a half inch out of level, so you had to adjust it a half inch to get it to bend straight. And it still didn't bend that straight. And somebody would have to stand there at the press brake, stomp the pedal, and time it just right to let off where it went all the way through the bend, but didn't come up and go back down and bend it again.
Yeah, because once you started, you couldn't, like, there was no stopping it.
Super fast.
And it was...
This wheel was turning nonstop, and you just kind of caught the traction of the wheel.
Yeah.
And then you had to let off. It's not like these new fancy ones. And so I would only run it, or me and like one other person that was with me that would run it. But I would get in the skid steer, because we were bending brush monster decks, and they were like 7 foot, long.
Yeah.
So they're super heavy. You couldn't hold them. So I get in the skid steer because we couldn't use a forklift, because we get in the skid steer, put the forks under it, stomp the pedal. It would come up so fast that when it come back down, it would bend backwards.
Yeah.
So I'd take the skid steer and hold it. They'd stomp the pedal. I'd give them the signal because I can't talk to them. They'd stomp the pedal. I'd raise the skid steer up as fast as I could to keep it from coming back down and bending back. Sometimes I still messed them up and we'd have to fix them. It was a nightmare to bend decks.
Yeah, the amount of stress that I had watching them things, that one be ran just...
Extremely dangerous.
number one, dangerous. And then number two, I'm like, it's going to mess up, which is like more time and more money of like material. And
we'd...
Paying someone, like it was.
If we messed the deck up, there's like $700 we'd just throw away.
God, I would just sit there
up.
and just like and anxiety ridden because of that press brake.
Well, anyway. But the real reason, I could make it work, but we were starting to get where we had employees where they were doing the work, and I couldn't let them do that.
Well, and you didn't need to keep doing that work either.
Yeah. Well, so we hired a new person, and he was bending some little parts, and I was like, the people are going to get hurt, and we need a press brake. And we didn't want to spend the money. We just didn't have the money.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we was talking, and I was like, hey, we're going to have to get a press brake. And you was just like, sure, that's fine. If that's what we need to do. And I'm like, well, we have to do it. And so it was, I got on places, started looking around, wasn't having no luck finding anything. And we had probably, 20 to 30 grand in the bank, period. Like, that's all the money for run the whole business.
Maybe.
And we was sitting there looking online, all this stuff. And I remember this guy used to email me equipment that he had. So I looked in my emails, found his name, said, hey, I called him up. He was from New York. And I said, hey, I'm kind of looking for in this, price range. And I was going to have to buy something that was 20 years old.
And what were they typically running, like, as far as what we wanted, but was newer? Crazy.
What we want, $200-300.
Just crazy expensive. That we were just out of the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at these old ones, and they're green screen. They're still $10,000 to $20,000. They're kind of hard to operate. It's like using an old Mac computer that's typing some prompt code. It's terrible. So the guys were going to have like a learning curve. They really weren't super reliable. It was already, if something went wrong, you couldn't get parts for them because they were so old. so I was kind of stressing out, and this was a time in the business where every day was a stress day.
Yes.
Like it was constant. Like I'm
you
ready to
wake
quit
up
every day.
stressed, day was stressed, go to home stressed through the night, not sleeping stressed.
So
Rough.
that guy, I told him, I said, well, I think I might want this one. It's not what I wanted at all. Didn't feel good about it. And we were dealing with some stuff in the office. And I remember I was standing outside by the mailbox, and he called. And I just didn't want it. Mm-hmm. Like I was just not going to answer because I just didn't want to talk to nobody. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, it's not the right thing to do. Let me just, first, before he called back, but we couldn't find a used one we liked. So we were like, we're going to have to finance a new one.
Yeah.
And we looked at one that was $85,000.
Yeah. And we were going to start the process.
Yeah. So it was $85,000 for this new press brake that was pretty simple to use for everybody. So now he's calling, and I'm really stressed, and I don't want to answer the phone. And I was like, I can't just let this dude, like, I shouldn't let him just be hanging. Like, I should let him know, hey, I don't need it. Yeah. So I went ahead and I just I always had to take deep breaths in before I answer the phone. Like,
calm yourself down. Yeah.
I was like,
just
okay.
Take a breath.
I got to talk. So I took a deep breath and I answered the phone. I was like, hey, man, we can't do that. It's just not going to work out. I said, I found this press brake. I told him what it was. I said, I'm just going to get this new because it's going to be easier. We can finance it, all this mess. He's like, okay, that's fine. No problem. With the phone. And 30 minutes later, I got an email from him with the exact model, exactly, that he actually happened to have, that was 4 years old, that was used building skyscraper window frames, which are super thin, so no abuse on it. It looked brand new. And he's like, hey, it's $35,000. Yep. And I was like, God. I said, well, first I ain't got $35,000. But
we'll get it.
Well, it's what, no, I mean, it's what we wanted, though. It's exactly what we wanted. And it came to us like that because we decided that's what we was going to get. And magically, we had like $45,000 in the bank at that moment.
But we did, because also we were talking about getting it, but then making payroll at the same time for the same time.
Yeah, well, I don't think we quite had 45,000.
It was somehow that came.
It was going to break even at the time, and I said, well, we're going to get it, and we'll make this work. Yeah. That's what it was. So we was going to make it work. Yeah. So we just went ahead and started the process, and it was $5,000 to have it moved or something. Then we had to pay to get it set up. Yeah. It was, I think we ended up having like 38 in it, something like that. But anyway, it's just crazy because of the exact model that we wanted from somebody that I was going to ignore. If I'd ignored him, we wouldn't have got it. But I just had this feeling like I need to
do the right
not leave this guy hanging. And all that worked out. I couldn't even see it run. It wasn't even hooked up because they bought a $200,000 press brake to put in its place to get it more accurate bends. So couldn't see it run. Like had to just I could have flew to New York, but I couldn't afford that and the press brake.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But even if I flew there, I couldn't watch it run. So I said, all right, let's just do it. And we ended up, the whole process was finished, and we just happened to have $15,000 back in the bank after we bought it.
Yeah.
That's like this crazy, like we always felt so broke. We still feel broke because we're always
all the time. Well, we're always moving money to make us broke.
But had no money, had a need. Mm-hmm. We decided we had to fill the need, and this is before we really called it manifest. Before we really knew what we were kind of doing. We were doing the moves. We just didn't really understand what we were doing at the time, but brought that to us. Exactly what we wanted. Brought that to us, and still had the money to make it work. Like we just knew it would work out. Like we had a piece about it. We knew it'd work out, and it lined right up.
Yeah, and it was always in the time frames that. Like when you're jumping the gun on things, you end up making rash decisions and getting things you don't really need and getting into a bind, and have you just learn to be patient and just wait. Like things will come as long as you know what you're looking for. Specifically, write them down, say them, like talk about it together. And that's one thing that I think I realized, honestly, probably like maybe 6 months ago. I think I told you, I was driving down the road, and there's something different about when you're married and you are congruent with where you're going or where you're wanting to go, that really makes things happen. I mean, when we weren't really together on the same page, it's like.
I agree because we're married, but also we are very much in unity in our marriage.
That's what I
more than
mean.
most people.
Yeah, right.
So yes, married, but also
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, though. But there's a
unified.
difference, though. I mean, you can be obviously it happened for the Dodge when we were dating, but we were on the same page and the same level. So I just think there's a difference in, especially when you're married and you have a commitment to each other, when you're coming together and saying, okay, this is where we need this to go, or whether it's your marriage or in your business or something you're needing to grow. That's just when we saw it happen the fastest. And to like detail is when we were both very intentionally specific about what we're needing and wanting, and then agreeing.
Yeah, I mean, because we've kind of learned studying different things and listening to different people. We've kind of learned like what we were doing. We didn't realize what we were doing, but we started learning how to do it.
Yeah, and you do it separately, obviously, but when you have somebody doing it together,
Yeah, it's just stronger. It's like
is a big deal.
The frequency that you're putting out, like the law of attraction is you attract things, you attract like things. So if you're always putting out there, everything's terrible, all this stuff's bad, all I see is failure, I'm always broke, like you're attracting those things to you.
That's what you're looking for. I mean, you're looking for failure. You're not looking for anything to happen.
You're lowering your vibration to match those things.
I know, but that's the same thing as far as like when Renee talked about in your brain, when you buy a red car, and then all you see is red cars. So if what you're thinking about is failing and negativity, that's what you're going to see. Even if that situation maybe not be a failure, but you're going to see the failure in that situation, even though there could be something actually happening, you're just missing it.
Yeah, so I think so like the plane story, that's a story of we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we started out not doing it.
Do you want to talk about the laser first, or do you want to do the plane now? The plane was after the laser, which doesn't really matter how it happened.
Well, the laser is just the same thing as the press brake.
But we had jumped the gun, not jumped the gun, but got the one before that was a pain.
That's not jumping the gun.
We actually learned a lot in that process.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, everything we've done.
I guess it was good for the time.
Yeah, well, the things we've learned from dealing with that old laser has helped us dramatically to do other things. But that laser, it was the same thing. Like everybody was 6-8 months out, at least on getting anything at all.
So we had 2 plasma tables. That was just when it cut the metal, it left a lot of slag on it. So the employees were having to grind for hours, which was.
We had 2 full-time grinders.
Yeah, I mean, so we needed something that could cut metal better, that would take away that labor and help our production go a lot faster.
Yeah, so we bought an old laser and we fixed it. I had to do a bunch of work to it, rewire it.
It cost us a lot of money.
I mean, we had about 100.
For the lenses, to replace them lenses so often. So
the problem was, it was old. It was kind of out of date. It was a one-off deal for a Toyota plant.
Yeah.
So I had to rewire it. Nobody figured out how to rewire it. So I had to just get the schematics, go in there, start rewiring this thing to tell it it's okay to cut. You're not on assembly line anymore. Mm-hmm. But the parts for it were one-off parts, and we just couldn't order them. So it was costing us like $1,000 a week to keep it running.
It was terrible.
And
how much were them lenses a piece? $500?
Yeah, and we was going through like 2 a week.
Yeah.
So it was just ridiculous. Nobody would come work on it. It was kind of like an out-of-date deal where they're like, I got easier jobs and I'm busy, so why would I come work on your junk?
Yeah. Well, and the positive that came out of it, too, though, is that one of our employees, he really learned how to, he really learned the laser. So it helped as far as the future went. Well, and you learned, too, but how to really run it. So now there's a way bigger understanding of
but we decided, hey, we need one. We're going to make the move to buy a brand new one. Everybody was 6-8 months out, and we were like, we're going to spend so much money. And I decided we was going to do it. Got on Facebook, looked. A guy I knew was selling his demo one. He had it available. I was the first person to message him. Mm-hmm. I was like, now who's going to loan us $200 something?
I was about to say, and still at this point, financially doing better, but not really.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where you just feel at peace about it. You're like, right. This is it.
That's what I'm trying to say, is even though finances weren't like just booming, there was still a peace that this was the right move. Yeah,
and so I called the bank and I was like, hey, y'all do equipment loans? Because equipment loans, if y'all ever bought anything big, they're miserable to get an equipment loan. The rates are sometimes okay. The payoff is not good. But the bank's better to work with. So I called her. She's like, yeah, we do them. Send me the invoice. I sent it to her, and she's like, hey, look, Like the biggest one we've ever did is like 30 grand. We're going to have to take this to the board. And I'm like, okay. She's like, it should be fine. I just want to run it by them.
Yeah.
She come back. She's like, you're good. So we got it. So, just everybody else was so far out, and we was able to replace that and get it in December. So we spent the money by the end of the year for taxes. But,
did someone, what do we do with that old laser? Did someone get it?
we took it to the scrapyard.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It was garbage.
Yeah, it was terrible.
But the plane thing, we wanted the plane. This is when we know what we're doing. We know what we should do.
Well, and truly what happened, what kind of kickstarted that was he had been saying for probably a couple of years about getting his pilot license. And at the time, we were both like, I mean, obviously we knew it would happen, but still we thought, man, that's like forever away. Well, had you started your lessons? So anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's start out with this. Women can't drive for shit. All right? Hannah's a terrible driver. Nate, let me talk, because you're going to interrupt and lie.
You're about to lie.
Hannah's a terrible driver.
His stories are always half-truths, so take it with a grain of salt. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, women are great drivers.
Half-truth.
That's my disclaimer.
That's part of, okay, whatever.
Women are great drivers. Hannah said, hey, guess what?
This is for...
Happy birthday.
This is for his birthday. On his birthday. Also had been a rough day.
Can I tell my story?
Yeah, sorry.
Stop talking.
Sorry.
Talking. It was a rough day because I'm married. And so she's like, hey, get in the Jeep. It's your birthday. I got a surprise. Stop talking.
I didn't say anything.
You're trying. She's like, get in the Jeep. Happy birthday. Surprise. I want you to put this blindfold on and ride down the road with the top off the Jeep. It is true. And I said, I'm not putting the blindfold on, but I will close my eyes if you really don't want me to look. So in her attempt to confuse me about where we were going, she was just driving through fucking parking lots. She was going the long way around. I'm feeling sick because she is just taking me all these weird places, and she don't drive good, so she's squirrely. She's got a heavy foot on the brake and the gas. And I'm really struggling to sit here with my eyes closed because she's trying to trick me. I would have been confused as bad as she drives if she just went straight. But anyways, we get there and she's like, all right, look up. And she's like, all right, we're at the airport. We're taking Discovery flight. Let's go. And she got to fly with us. And good old Ben took us up. And I'm already feeling a little sick from her driving.
Oh my.
And then he gets in there. He lets you fly a little bit. And then he does a little surprise maneuvers just to kind of see if you
how
can
well you handle it.
And I never felt sick in a plane ever except for that first day, and I blame that on your initial drive to get me there.
Okay, I want to just set the scene just very quickly because you left out so many things.
Here comes some lies. All right.
Most of yours was true except for the beginning. So what I asked him initially was, we can either take the truck and you don't have to wear a blindfold, or we take the Jeep and or no. I said you have to wear a blindfold, but we can take the truck or the Jeep because I knew the doors were off the Jeep, and I was like, he may do better in the truck and he may not want people to see him wearing a blindfold, so I gave him the option.
Hell no, if you're wearing a blindfold, right down the damn road.
I was like, they're going to think I'm like kidnapping him or something. So I gave him the option. He said, we'll just take the Jeep, and I said, whatever, it's up to you. So then he didn't. But then we were leaving, and he was like, please don't be taking me to a surprise party because he was pretty much done with the day at that point. Like, he didn't really want to be around people, didn't want to have to talk to anybody. And I was like, I swear it's not. Just let's go. So I did drive through one parking lot, did like a circle. And he was like, are we in a parking lot? And I was like, come it. I was like, yes, but just keep your eyes closed. So then he was honestly just not in the mood. When we got there, probably was more pissed off than anything and sick. And it was not because of my driving. Number one, the Jeep's very squirrely and other things.
And women are great drivers, yes.
I am a good driver.
I know.
But things are worse also when you close your eyes. However, I don't really get motion sick, but that first airplane ride, it was hot and there was no air ventilation in the back. Like, y'all had air up front. I had zero air in the back. I was sweating, and the plane was like up and down, up and down, up and down.
It's supposed to.
I know, but I wasn't ready. And I really thought I'm about to throw up all in the back of this plane. But I was like, keep it together, keep it together. So I was like looking out the window, trying to just hold it together. And we did, and it was fine. And that was the kickstart of him getting his training for his pilot license, which he has very successfully gotten the private and is trying to get the dual engine
Well, we were
Right,
almost
so
done.
We're almost
But-
there though. So anyway, get in the plane.
Right.
How that transpired. I just want to say like why you even started getting your pilot license.
Because I want to fly.
That's right. I want to fly. I don't want to drive. I need to be flown to Ohio.
Worst thing you can ever do is start getting your pilot license and not have it, and go on a trip and drive a long ways.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
freaking miserable.
You're like, why do we even drive ever?
All right, it's plane. So I'm getting close to the end, and we want a plane. Because you can't. There's no one to rent down here. You can't. I mean, you can rent it for a couple hours. You can't rent it for the weekend. So we're just gonna have to get one.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what we want. What we would like to have is a twin-engine, 6-seater plane. Because
Well,
if
I
you
will
haven't
say
been
too, you
around
had only been looking at
planes-
single engine,
What?
and I
Hold on.
did not feel safe.
Well,
Not
that's
not
'cause
safe,
what I
but
was getting my
we couldn't
license
carry
for.
we couldn't carry more kids. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a whole deal with
Yeah,
what
all right,
motor you should
anyway.
get. Anyway, if you hadn't been around general aviation planes, a 4-seater is really a 2-seater.
Yes.
Like us 4 adults, and I mean I'm 230, y'all are, the girls are like 100, and the guy was like 140 maybe. I don't know, maybe
don't
180.
remember.
He's not 140, but like
No.
180. So nobody was really that heavy except for me, and for us 4 to get in that plane and leave, we could only have half the fuel it can hold.
Yeah.
So,
And we were only going how far away?
yeah, 30-minute flight. It
Yeah.
was 45 minute. It was not that far. So it is, a 4-seater plane is really a 2-seater for adults. Like the kids can get in there and it's fine. So we want a 6-seater, so it'd be like a true 4-seater. So us and the kids could go and
then
actually
some
go
luggage.
places and get plenty of fuel to go a long way.
Yeah.
So we knew what we wanted, but we wasn't going to start with that. We were going to start with a 4-seater plane because it was easier and cheaper, much cheaper.
Yeah, we always thought we'd upgrade later.
Right. So we're looking on Facebook groups. Marketplace don't have a lot of
Joining
planes.
all
but
the
Facebook
airplane
groups have, they
groups,
have
yeah.
a bunch for sale. And it's just frustrating.
It is.
We were having just everything we looked at was just not right. This ain't right. It was just, we're getting beat up emotionally at every turn trying to look for a plane. And then I was like, this is stupid. What are we doing?
We literally one day I think said, you know what, we're just not going to look anymore. I think we
Yeah.
had that discussion.
We
and
said,
we were like, we're just not
going
going
to
to
quit
look.
looking and it will come
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
The plane will come
Yes.
to us that we need.
Yes.
Because we were tired of looking. And planes had just went up because of COVID and stuff. They just got more expensive. So a $30,000 plane is now $70,000
70,
plane.
75, yeah.
So we're already depressed that we're going to spend more money on it. So we're like, all right, we're not looking. This is stupid. It'll come to us.
And it wasn't that's something we had to have in the moment. So we were just like,
so we were like, we're done for
we're
even
just-
stressing.
Yeah.
The next day, very next day, I walked next door in our parking lot at work.
Yeah. So it's like our business, then another business
Yeah.
beside us.
It's the old men's club over there, the old rich men's club.
Like-
All these old rich
it's like
men come
the-
hang out and talk.
I say it's like the Jacks of
About the
this
good old
parking lot.
days.
Yeah.
So I walk in, and there's a counter there, and there's 2 old men standing at the counter, and one of them I know, and then the guy that owns the business, and he is a pilot. He's had planes, and somehow planes got brought up.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't bring him up. The guy that I knew,
That was in the business.
no, the other
Not
guy.
the guy that owns it. Oh, the guy that owns
just,
it.
No, the
Yeah.
random guy that was just there.
Oh.
He's like, hey,
Yeah.
old Dave's selling his plane. And the other guy's like, oh, really? So because they're talking about all the old rich men. And I was like, what kind of planes he got?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just happened to be over there. This is,
Yeah. Just
they
right.
might have been there 30 minutes the next day. Happened.
And you're not always over there. Like, or we don't
never
always just
go
walk
over
over there. Like, you do less now than you used to, but
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't
maybe
just like a normal.
twice a month I'd walk
Yeah.
over there. Not that much.
Yeah.
So I just walk over. He's like, hey, Dave's selling his plane. I'm like, what kind of plane is that? They're like, we have no idea. So I know Dave, so I text him. I was like, hey,
What you
man,
selling?
I want to talk to you about your plane. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll call you later. So we go home, and our phone service sucks because we live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
At that point, we had hardly no internet service.
Yeah, we had a house phone still because we couldn't make
Hell
phone calls
yeah.
really. That's what you had to call them on, was the house phone,
no.
wasn't it? Or
Yes,
did you go
it
outside
was.
on?
It
Yeah,
was
it
the house
was.
phone.
It was.
Caught him on the house phone. And then got my cell phone out, and I'm like, oh, yeah, what kind of plane is
That's
it?
right.
And he's telling me, and I'm trying to look it up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know all these plane names. And so I finally pull the plane up. It gets pulled up while he's talking.
Yeah.
And it is a twin motor, 6-seater plane that is like exactly what we said we were looking for.
Yep.
And this guy lives, he's in town. He's got a
Yeah.
business in town. The airport,
The airport.
the airplane's at our hangar, at the hangar in
hangar,
Gadsden.
yeah, right.
Didn't have to be moved, nothing. It's in good shape, and it's harder to find pilots for twin engine planes. So he was frustrated because he's not a pilot. He's like, I can't get nobody to fly it as often as I want to be flown.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to sell it and get another plane. So we bought that plane literally for like half of what it's worth.
That was probably more than.
Because he was
He just didn't.
over
He
it.
wanted to get rid. He didn't want to go through the process of having to list it,
He didn't
see
want to sell
people,
it.
trying to talk to people about what all goes in with it.
And he was probably
pretty
looking
much,
at, I got a good deal. If I sell it for this, I'm good because they have went up. He's already owned it.
Yeah.
So we got a great deal on the plane. Exactly what we wanted in our town. I mean,
it was, we'd have to move it. Like, it was already it's still in the same hangar that when we
Still
bought
there
it in.
now,
Like,
yeah.
it still stays there. We pay the rent on that.
and what our discussion was, what are we doing? We know that this is not how we get things by stressing, searching,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find it. We literally said, hey, it will come to us. And within a week, we owned a plane.
Yeah.
That was exactly what we wanted.
Yeah. We're literally just constantly making known, like, very specific. Okay, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for. Like, if there's something to detail of what we want, like, we make sure to put that detail out there, just because I don't want it missed.
Yeah.
If that's what I'm wanting, then, like, I'm gonna put it out there.
I know. Just like right now, we're talking about getting something else for me to drive. And part of me, though, is...
Well,
like,
we just
I'm
went through this
scared.
process a couple of days ago because I just did not feel good about it.
Well, no, I'm scared to want it. Like, I'm scared to say I want it because I know it'll happen.
Yeah. I'm not
Like,
scared.
I've got to the point where... No, I've got to the point where I'm not going to say I want something unless I really think that I want it because...
Yeah. Well, and I
It'll
will say,
show up.
well, I think too, though, so we're looking for something else for him to drive because the goal is to get him out of so I got him a truck 2 years ago. And it's been great. But it's just kind of puts him in work mode all the time. So we're really trying to get out of that a little bit. And we had talked about a Bronco, and then we looked at you looked at a G-Wagon recently. So we also too, like, aren't 100%, I think, on what exactly it is that we're looking for. And so he found a G-Wagon, and I was in Ohio, so we were talking about it. And it's hard because in the moment you're, like, excited. He knew the guy that was selling it, and
Well, I felt good about
you felt good about who you were buying it from,
Yeah.
and that it was a quality vehicle. I didn't really feel good about it because I don't know, I just have a feeling. Anyway, we had just decided if it's gone by the time I get back from Ohio, then we're just going to let it go.
It wasn't supposed to
and
be
the next
ours.
day it was gone.
Yeah.
So I do believe that as we're more intentional about what exactly it is we're looking for, what's going to benefit us the most, and the, like, qualities, then
it'll
at
show
that
up.
point that it's going to show up, and then we'll let y'all know when that happens. So, well, I think we're hitting the long
Yeah.
mark.
So we wanted to talk about that because so many people has asked about stuff like that. We've mentioned that we've
And
done
people
this
talk
so
about it
many
all
times.
people talk about it all the time. So,
And I'm like, I've got these stories, but they're long, and I tried to keep them short as I could, but trying to paint enough scenario of what we were going
process.
through to get them. But I think really what would you like to leave them with? Like, what's your kind of like?
why don't you start it this time? Because I
Rundown.
started it last time.
Yeah, well, I asked the questions first, so then you have to go first.
No, I asked you questions, and you just repeat my question usually. So,
No, run down for like how we kind of think now on manifesting stuff. We figure out what we want specifically,
yeah.
right down to
Detail.
details what we want.
And have a peace about it. If you're feeling, like, anxious or having a fear, then that's probably not the quality that you're needing.
I thought that I was starting.
Sorry.
That's right. Have get specific about what you want. Like, I mean specific. Like, I wanted a white Dodge flatbed, bigger tires. Who I was buying it from mattered. Like, the way I purchased it mattered. Like, set up to haul, certain transmission, and it showed up at my front door. Like, be specific about what you want. If you're not specific about what you want, you can't get it. Like, you need to track what you want. Be like, if like me and her's married, like we're in unity about it. I don't have to tell her what I'm going to go buy. I can go get anything I want. She's not going to be mad, but it's like we talk about it, and together, like we try to bring this stuff to us together. It's just easier that way for us.
Well, yeah, because sorry, I mean, I don't want to interrupt if you're not done.
No, I seen it coming.
Well, just like if you're married and making decisions separately, you've married that person and chosen a life with them for a reason. So why are you living a life or making decisions that does not involve that person? That doesn't make any sense to me. So for us, decisions we make, places we want to go, we chose this life together. So our goal is to live this life together, which means we're communicating about where it is we're wanting our life to go. And just like, I mean, you've pretty much already said it, but be specific about what you want. If, again, like I said, if there's fear, anxiety, it's probably time maybe you just like kind of take a step back and reevaluate, why do I want this? What is it specifically that I'm kind of going after? What's my goal with it? You know?
Well, and like if we do it together, we're talking about it, so we're speaking out loud what we want.
Yeah, and you can do it yourself in the car.
Describing
I thought it was my turn.
No, it's still my turn. You keep cutting me off. Describing what you want out loud to each other. So both of us are wanting it. We have a plan of what we want, so we're both attracting this to us. And I forgot what I was about to say now. You keep cutting me off.
I did not say anything at all to cut you off that time. You just lost your train of thought. It's all on you.
Well, and then speaking it, but also visualizing it. Like we're visualizing in our mind, like what this truck will look like.
See it,
what this plane will look like. Visualize it like our press brake, like I visualize this. We need this in our shop. And before I even found one, I'm out there
mapping out where it's going to go.
I'm out there. I was kind of drew up my shop. I was like, all right, I'm going to move this here. I'm going to move this here.
Where can we fit it?
And I asked my buddy, I was like, hey, because, you know, he's a smart dude. And I like a second opinion of somebody that I know that understands workflow. And I'm like, hey, come by here when you, and he's like, this is my plan. What do you think? You know, we're discussing where it's going to go. We ain't even found one yet.
Yeah.
We know we're getting it, so we're discussing where it's going to be.
Right.
So that's like we're attracting it to us.
Yeah. And I would even say, like, things that I do, I write it down. A lot of people, have called it a vision board. It's always been like my prayer paper or prayer board. I put one in my phone. I put one in my, like, a journal that I have. And just to, very specific detail of even areas where things where I want our marriage to look different, or like areas where I want to get better. If there's something between us where I'm like, I really need this, or like we would grow so much better together if this would take place.
I want to know what you want different in our marriage.
It's already been happening, my guys. You just don't see it. That's what I'm saying. Like he
perfect.
doesn't even know areas that I've prayed for or like asked for or wanted to happen, that I've just been so consistent with. This is how I see it. This is how I want it. This is where I know we can thrive the best. And then just slowly over time, I've just seen transformations and just areas that have really affected our family in such a positive way that the dynamic of my brain that I always envisioned for what my family would look like is actually coming to fruition. And that to me has been such like an answered prayer or whatever.
Is it like?
I'm trying
Yeah,
real hard. I've done very well, actually. So,
look, did you even listen?
I listened to the whole thing. I listened to the entire thing.
See, you cut me off. You know what I'm talking about.
I assumed you meant the first thing. I can't assume. No. Assuming does bad things, so I should not have assumed.
Did you even listen to that book, The Secret? Did you listen to the whole thing?
Not the whole thing.
It's so weird.
Wasn't there a movie? Didn't we try to watch the movie?
Yeah,
we tried to watch the movie, and I think we did not make it.
All right, so look, I'm just going to say this. Someone said to listen to the book, The Secret, watch it, whatever you want, whatever. So it's about manifesting, and I don't agree with the book completely. Like I don't really agree with it.
Yeah.
Because what they're saying is, I can just go home, sit on my couch, and I want $1 million, and it's just going to appear in my living room. That's kind of the vibe that they give off. They don't put the work part.
Yes.
Like they don't put the work part in there with it, and I don't think anything just comes to you without the work. But it's some kind of crazy music that plays while this woman talks in this weird accent. It's so weird.
Yes.
And it was hard to listen to.
Yep.
But I respected the person that mentioned to listen to it. So I'm like, all right, you're super damn successful. And if you're saying it started with this book, then I'm going to listen to this book, even though I turned it on. I was like, what the hell am I listening to?
What is going on?
So I turned it on. I'm listening to Drive Down the Road. I probably listen to the book 10 times because I just get so lost and not paying attention. But the main woman is a little weird. Mm-hmm. Like, I ain't gonna lie, she's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. But there's people in there. I was looking like Bob Proctor's in there. A few other people. The guy that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. You know what I'm talking about? He's in there talking about his $1 million check that he made that he brought to himself. These people put the work in. And there's a few people on there that talk about the science of why this works. And that's when I got to that part, I was like, okay, now I see some science to it, like how this stuff works. And when I listen to it again, I'm starting to put together different things. And I'm like, all right, I can see how this is starting to make a little bit of sense. Even though the book is weird as hell, you can get it on, Audible, Apple Books, whatever. It's probably like $13. It wasn't that much. Or you can watch it on YouTube for free.
Yeah, I could look at that.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
It's hard.
But I will say that if you want something
to maybe go reference, like if you just want something to reference. And
you've heard like our stories and stuff we've done. These are people. She's got a lot of guests on there.
And I think
tell stories.
Yeah, and there's so much more to be said for this. I mean, and everyone has their own opinions and their own maybe explanations, because we may not see eye to eye on everything, especially when it comes to stuff like this. But we are still. Don't even say nothing.
Because you're 5 foot tall.
Oh my God.
I can't
Somebody better come get this man. But we are still on the same page. Like we understand we're going after the same goals. There's still the same things that we want. So we are very much still communicating and being specific to move in that area.
Yeah. So. Another thing that I loved about that book was the guy that was sick, and he's like, depression can make you sick. Like I talked about in that first podcast, I was so depressed I made myself sick. He's like, and everybody can agree that depression makes you sick, and that's well accepted, and people believe that, but nobody believes that being positive and reaffirming of yourself can make you healthy. And then once you say that out loud, you're like, God, why wouldn't that work?
Yeah.
Well, your body can make itself sick, but it can't repair itself. And I was yesterday, I want to look into it more. I was listening to this thing. This doctor was talking about physical movement. So we talk about trying to stay active, which we've sucked at. 2024 has been a year of inactivity at the gym. But
we're about to get a home gym though.
But working out, your muscles release things to mentally like help your attitude, your mind. Like they're just finding so many more things. People know that working out makes them feel better, but it's also like an antidepressant. It's all these things, and it's not working out. It's active. It's walking. It's jogging. It's doing all anything to stay busy. People jump up in the morning, make some coffee, drive to work, sit in the office. They've not moved hardly. Yeah. And that's really bad. That's sitting there is worse anyway, and then you're not getting any kind of physical activity.
And I've even tried, I know we probably need to cut this off soon because we're getting on quite a long time. But when my son was young, like I'm talking young too, I started affirmations with him on the way, because I would say them about myself, and I wanted him to see me doing that. And then, because especially the days that I struggled the most are the days that I was trying to affirm myself the most. Because even if there's something about yourself, like even like if you're not good at something, say that you are. Like if you're not a very grace-giving person, say like, I'm so glad that I am giving grace, even to giving yourself grace. And so I make him do it. And then when we got married, I'm just big on words, and what you say absolutely matters. And so
they wasn't allowed to talk about themselves.
Every time something negative come out, I was like, no, or somebody else. Like you don't know that person, you don't know their story, you have no idea what they're going through at home. What right do you think you have? And then I would tell them, like, go give them a compliment, go say something to them, like you be that person to bring them up. Don't be that person that goes along with the crowd and is saying something that can possibly ruin their elementary, like, or anything that's happened, because you hear stories of people in their 30s that are still affected by
some little bully
in third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade because their parents just let them. And I tell them too, I can't be with you all the time. You have to make a decision, and you have to reap the consequences of those decisions, whether they're good or bad. And what you say, again, has power. So you're not an adult yet, but you are making adult decisions. And I think that's so important for kids to understand, even at 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, even when Ella had trouble, she'd cry every day going to school.
I would tell her to make her say affirmations on the way to school.
On the way to school, we'd sit there and I'd be like, you just repeat this. And I'd say things like she was smart. She was a good friend. She was she helps her. And she would say those things. And that's the day she was okay to go to school.
Yeah, and it was because it was hard for her at first. And I think even hard for you to start because it feels weird. Like it's like a weird feeling. But once you start, it really.
All right, we're going to say positive things about ourselves. Feel like a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, a bunch of nerds. But there's just something that transpires in yourself, and you can just internally feel yourself almost even changing because of the positive things that you're saying. So she has grown even a ton from that. Our family's grown a ton from that, and they really actually still enjoy it and know that negativity is just not. I'm not for it. Neither is he.
All right, so if you got some cool manifesting stories you want to let us know, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
And if you go watch The Secret Book or listen to it,
let us know how it goes for you.
Let us know what you think, because it is strange. Like, it's a warning. This is the warning. It sounds weird.
Yeah.
Get through the first of it, and it gets better, I promise. It may be the second or third time before you can really
kind of get in.
Yeah, because it's strange.
Or even just take some notes away from it and be like, that was good. Thanks.
If you don't want to listen to it and you're just wondering how weird it is, just turn it on for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, just curious.
Bad.
Yeah. Well, all right.
So let's do those. And guys, appreciate if y'all liked it, share it.
Yeah.
We got, just learning that manifests in, you don't have to believe in it. You don't have to believe that there's law of attraction. You don't have to believe in the science part of frequency and all that. But the more you look into it, it takes belief. Mm-hmm. It's like your body knows if you believe it or not. So it takes a belief, and the more you look into it, the more you're going to believe it.
Yep.
That's what it took for me, was once the science part started coming in, I was like, hey, it's pretty legit. It's easier to believe it.
Yeah, and do it. I mean, like, even things that I have for, like, my sister and my dad, like, I have specific things I'm asking for them that I think would benefit them, and I've seen some of them happen, some of, other things I have, so.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be just for you. It could be for
you've been
somebody
sitting
else.
there thinking about somebody, and they call you, be like, "Oh, just thinking about you. That shit's real." Mm-hmm. And you sending thoughts to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely
works.
matters. And we just kind of gotten away from that because you get into technology and other things where you're just so disconnected that really when you will remove that from yourself, you realize how we are full of electricity and spiritual beings. Like, that absolutely plays a part. Sorry, the word "like." I've got to get out of that. I've done better though.
We're gonna cut this thing off. All right.
All right,
All right, we out.
See you.